Hello ladies and gentlemen, Big Daddy Top Hat here. On this channel in the past we have looked at the history of various characters from the Street Fighter universe, looking at the lives and careers of various fighters who have appeared in the legendary video game series. In today's episode we are going to be looking at the story of one of the most intriguing characters of all who exists in this world, a warrior who carries the title Evil Ryu. While regular and evil both have their own separate avatars on the game's player select screen, in truth they are both just the same person, but is represented twice in the game just via making very different life choices. So join me as we look at the lore behind this character and check out most of his significant appearances that he has made in video games and other media over time. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the mad story of Evil Ryu, the Street Fighter franchise's main hero's dark side. Yeah. To understand the rise of Evil Ryu, we first have to refamiliar ourselves with the rise of Akuma, a character who would first appear in Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo as a hidden final boss. The cold and extremely powerful fighter's sole motivation in life is honing his fighting skills by battling and destroying strong foes. Akuma is the brother of Guken, the man who trained Ryu and Ken. However, when Akuma and Guken were younger themselves, they were taught by a fighter named Gutsetsu, who would teach them life-threatening martial arts techniques. This would include the Shungaku Satsu, a lethal technique that translates as instant murder. As the two brothers progressed with their training, disputes arose with regards to the true nature of their fighting style and the path to mastery. Ultimately, Guken refused to accept the violent nature of Gutsetsu's teachings and would leave to begin his own dojo. Akuma, on the other hand, embraced what is known as the Satsui no Hado, the principle of giving up any compassion held towards other human beings in a mission to become the most powerful fighter possible. Removing elements in his life, such as compassion, meant that Akuma could fully focus on his power, which would soon develop into a lust for fighting to the death. This stage of Akuma's life would culminate with him challenging his master Gutsetsu, which would result in fighting him to the death to prove that he had surpassed him. Years would pass, and past this point Akuma would challenge his brother Guken using the Shungoku Satsu technique on him. Akuma assumed he'd killed his sibling, and from a distance in the woods, Guken's trainee Ken saw the attack via seeing a huge flash in the sky. Ken would return, finding his master on the floor, resulting in Ken confronting Akuma in the woods, only to be easily defeated as well. Moving along through time, Akuma lived to find strong opponents and searched the globe looking for worthy challengers, eventually identifying Ryu and becoming obsessed with him in the process. As strong as Ryu is though, oh screw it, I'm not saying bloody Ryu anymore, it's bloody difficult, nor am I using that stupid American pronunciation Ryu either. I think going forward I'm going to go back to the old way. Ryu, yeah. Akuma knows he would never get the true deathmatch he craves against the fighter, or get to face Ryu at his full potential, unless he can get Ryu to give in to the Satsui no Hado too. The character Evil Ryu is the version of the fighter who is given into these dark urges. Ryu, isn't that fun to say? British phonics, hahaha. In the Street Fighter universe, Evil Ryu would first show up in Street Fighter Alpha 2. During the game, Akuma states he is able to sense the Satsui no Hado lying dormant within him. This alternative version of the Street Fighter star first appeared in this game as a simple palette swap of the traditional character, only this time wearing a black or dark purple gi like Akuma. He also now wears a black headband and his skin is a slightly darker tone. Now embracing Satsui no Hado and giving up compassion, Evil Ryu is of course cold and conceited, carrying an obsession with fighting to prove he is the strongest. Ryu in this incarnation has a lust for absolute power and has completely given up empathy or any form of respect for others, viewing the likes of love, family, justice and vengeance as ideas that only the weak think about. These attitudes translate into the way he fights, displaying a brutal and heartless fighting style. Evil Ryu's dangerous bloodlust means he is willing to seek out and murder strong opponents. In Alpha 2, Evil Ryu encounters Sakura, the young fighter who idolizes him. In this instance, he makes a direct threat to her, stating he will show her no mercy if she attempts to stand in his way. If Ryu defeats his rival Akuma in the game, the title states Ryu defeated Akuma with his blood-soaked fist, and then disappeared to whereabouts unknown. Did Ryu embrace the real Satsui no Hado, or did he succeed Akuma as the master of the fist? Only time will tell when we see him again. Will he reach his full potential as a martial artist? The Satsui no Hado that consumed Ryu would resurface in Street Fighter Alpha 3, where he would once again encounter Sagat, the man who in combat Ryu had previously ripped their chest open at the first World Warrior tournament. The first signs that Ryu may have some darkness deep inside him. In the Alpha series, Sagat hunts down Ryu seeking revenge for this incident, wanting to beat him in combat. However, when Sagat discovers Ryu in this new dark form, he realizes something is extremely off. Sagat tells Evil Ryu to take a look at himself as he has lost control of his own power and that he is no longer the same man he wanted to challenge. This just leads Evil Ryu to mocking Sagat and telling him to shut up and fight. The two do battle with Evil Ryu winning, but afterwards Evil Ryu realizes that Sagat held back in the match. After Ryu questions his opponent, Sagat pities him, stating he is not the man who left a scar on his chest, nor would a real warrior allow himself to be tempted by cheap tricks to gain power. Concluding with Sagat telling Evil Ryu that he will wait for his true rival to return, then challenge him instead. Next, Evil Ryu takes on M. Bison, with Bison being impressed with his powers, but not being concerned by them. After all, Ryu is only human, and he cannot control the evil energy within, and it will only be a matter of time before he plunges into darkness completely. In combat, Evil Ryu easily dispatches of M. Bison though. Next in the game, Evil Ryu travels to Shin Akuma's location so that the two can test their powers against one another to see who the ultimate fighter really is. Akuma is pleased with his arrival, stating words do not have any meaning to us, and to satisfy his anger and rage, he should just attack him. In Alpha 3, defeating Shin Akuma as Evil Ryu is left in a temporarily dazed state, in awe of the incredible power levels he has now reached. A flashback plays of him lusting over ripping Sagat's chest open previously, with the scene ending with Ryu claiming his fist is stained with the blood of death, with the art showing his eyes becoming red and his chest expanding as he screams in sadistic pleasure. The end of Evil Ryu's Alpha story closes by revealing to the player that Ryu's downfall is complete, and he has now taken on Akuma's burden of looking for a stronger opponent to defeat him. With the Street Fighter Alpha games being a story prequel to Street Fighter 2, and with Evil Ryu and the Alpha series not being invented until after the release of most of the Street Fighter 2 iterations, Evil Ryu's arc was obviously not part of most of the versions of the Street Fighter 2 games. However, this would all change very recently in 2017 with the release of Ultra Street Fighter 2 The Final Challengers, a HD remake of the classic Street Fighter 2 game that adds yet another further two characters. Violent Ken, who I am sure we will cover on here in depth in the future, and of course Evil Ryu. Playing as this character in the game, he enters the second World Warrior tournament where he once again easily dispatches of M. Bison in combat. Bison is speechless as a result of his extreme power on display, making his psycho powers look like nothing in comparison. Evil Ryu does not kill Bison due to having no interest in dispatching of those who he considers as no more than weaklings, who are not even on his level. Ryu declares his power to destroy everything will continue to bring him to new heights, with the title concluding with him going in search of Akuma so that he can fight him to the death. Thus meaning Evil Ryu's story conclusion in Alpha 3 does not actually match up with his role in Ultra Street Fighter 2, as Akuma appears to be alive and well. The next entry in the mainline Street Fighter games in terms of timeline would be with Street Fighter 4. In this game, Evil Ryu first shows up in the original edition of the game in a vision as part of Akuma's meditation. He becomes a playable character as of Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition, with his introduction showing him regaining consciousness in the middle of nowhere. Here he becomes completely engulfed by the Satsui no Hado, the source of his incredible powers. He then sets out to show his ultimate power to the world. To make his appearance more menacing, in this game his design was given an overhaul, making him look even more Akuma-like in the process. As of this game, he now has fangs, red eyes in combat, his hair is spiked upwards with a reddish tint, and his clothes and headband are now torn. To top off the intimidation, he was also given a demonic voice to match his look and emits a dark red aura in every match. The most notable change to his look of all though is a new gaping hole burned into the fighter's chest, with a similar scar appearing on his back too, featuring a glowing kanji symbol that reads as heaven. It is suspected that this feature relates to the Ryu final manga. Finishing a playthrough as Evil Ryu ends with him attracting Shadowloo's attention. M. Bison's grunts intercept him with firearms, but Ryu murders them before they even get an opportunity to react. The game ends with him declaring his hado craves more blood and violence, something he claims nothing less than a fight to the death can quench. Sadly, Evil Ryu as a playable fighter would not be part of Street Fighter 3 or Street Fighter 5. However, in the latter, he does appear in one of Ryu's dreams in his regular form. The evil version of himself tries to convince his normal self about the power of destruction to kill, and it is for the destiny of his own fist. Ryu finally rejects his word, knowing this is not his answer. This does result in a new problem for Ryu though, as by overcoming the Satsui no Hado dwelling deep inside him, it allows it to manifest into a demon. This sentient being takes the name Kage, who lives to prove that Ryu is nothing without him, and like Ryu before him seeks to challenge both Akuma and Sagat, Ryu's own greatest rivals. All considered, I guess the Kage character is just a complete rip-off of the birth of Piccolo in Dragon Ball. However, if the interest is there, I'll consider covering Kage's story in depth in the future on here. Evil Ryu would appear in crossover and non-canon Street Fighter games too, such as all 3 installments in the Street Fighter EX trilogy, which continues to see him looking for strong opponents. In SNK vs Capcom, the match of the millennium, Evil Ryu would be promoted to final boss status, a position worthy of such a powerful fighter to be fair. Prior to taking him on, players must defeat M. Bison and Fatal Fury's villain Geese Howard, with them referring to him as the Creature. They end up fleeing the scene when the capsule holding him explodes, leaving the player's team to deal with his insane powers. Evil Ryu would go on to be included in other Capcom vs SNK games, but would also play a role in the Marvel vs Capcom series too, but sadly just functions as an alternative Ryu costume in these ones. The character would play a role in the Namco Cross Capcom RPG after Ryu becomes consumed by the Satsui no Hado. His evil form remains in the story until that arc closes. Evil Ryu would also show up in Azura's Wrath as the second and final opponent in some of the game's extra DLC. Evil Ryu retains all of his moves on Super Street Fighter 4, but they are significantly modified for the style of this game. In other forms of media, such as Street Fighter Alpha, the animation, the Satsui no Hado overtakes Ryu several times, becoming Evil Ryu in the process. In the movie though, he does manage to overcome the dark forces. Evil Ryu would also play a role in Street Fighter Alpha Generations, as a result of a transformation when Ryu fights Akuma. Evil Ryu tries to perform a Shungoku Satsu on Akuma, only to be stopped by a flower, which results in Ryu managing to break the Satsui no Hado's influence over him. While Ryu and Evil Ryu are very much the same character, the best way to think of Evil Ryu, who is playable in the video games, is as a what-if version of the character, and how things would unfold if Ryu submitted to the Satsui no Hado. Even Kage, who appears in Street Fighter V, is technically not simply a manifestation of Evil Ryu either, but instead a physical manifestation of the Hado itself. All in all, the alternative dark path of Ryu is an interesting one, as is those times where he came so close to being overcome by the dark side of the Force, only to resist its temptation in the dying moments. I hope my video today will be able to make Evil Ryu's existence and purpose clearer to you, and that you can go away from this now with a better understanding of this destructive character. If you found enjoyment from this content that focused purely on one selectable Street Fighter character, I would be curious to know who you would like me to highlight on this channel next, as I have an entire playlist spotlighting various characters from this insanely interesting universe. If you are new here, please do not forget to like this video, hit that subscriber button and ring that notification bell to see future character deep dives. Or perhaps some of my beat 'em up or wrestling game content may also pique your interest. Videos like this are made easier to produce in part due to my generous Patreon backers, who help aid me to work on this YouTube platform on a full-time basis. So special shout outs go out to Sebastian Velez, A Murder of Crows, Carl Johnson, Heo Paula Lopez, Nostalgia Collector, Ben Harradine, Corey Omar Sr., Capcom vs SNK, Rowan Digit, Evan Balder, Philip Manf, Azarake, Joaquin Varela, Michael Cullix, Ago, Jordan Duran, Angel Light 85, Ian Boyle, Nick Daniels, Princess Zana, Daniel Daly, Computer Man, House of the Ted, Gary Pinkett, ECU Professor, Johnny Holly, August Piazza, Justin Wang, Hermes Gonzalez, Instant Gratification Monkey, Man Shovel, James Bishop, JB, Michael Hall, Wesley Sanghi, Drew Peacock, Langston Miller, Noob, Sarah Powell, Vlaming Renee, Marvin Araliga, TOG Driver, Adrian Hannington, Bernard NG, Dan Van Damme, Leros Viant, John Bates, David Bowell, Chris Fisk, Michael Bruno, Rick67, Antonio Rodriguez, Craig Jenkins, Retroverse.com, Casey Wright, Synth Spaces, Punk Toast, Gunther Hendricks and everybody else who backs what I do on Patreon. Thank you very much.